All right, we're going to do this example. It says the data show the heights in feet of 14 roller coasters. Find the mean, median, mid-range, and mode for the data. And we're going to assume this is a sample of all the roller coasters. So when we talk about the mean, we're looking for X bar. And that's just to make sure we understand that this represents the sample mean. And remember, mu represents the population mean, but this is not the population of all roller coasters. So this is just a sample. So the first one that we're going to find is mean. And mean is going to be the sum of all the data points. So we're going to go 95 plus 102 plus 105 plus 118 plus, and we're going to keep adding up all those data points. And then we're going to divide by the number of data points. So if we look at this, there are 14 data points, so we're dividing by 14. So go add all your data points up and find out what that sum is. And I got to do that now. So 95. I think when I get them all, I get a sum of 1,457, and now I've got to divide that by 14. So I get a mean speed of 104.0, and now your mean value has to have one more decimal place than the data set that you have. So in my case, it's going to be actually, it goes out to 0714, blah, blah, blah. So what I would call this is 104 point, the 7 rounds that up to 1. And this is the mean height in feet. So this is 104.1 feet of roller coaster. All right, so that's the mean. So we add up all the data and divide by 14. And I hope let's make sure I add it up because I'd hate to make a mistake right now. 95, 102, 105, 118, 50, 91, 125. Get back up over here. 125, 160, 102, 95, 120, 50, 160, 84. Yep. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is find the median. And to do the median, there are two steps that you have to do. The first thing is order your data from smallest to largest. So if we look at our data, the smallest data point is 50. That takes care of that one. And there's another 50. That's that one. And then what's the next one? 84. 91. 95 twice. 102. 102 again. 105. 118. 120. 125. And 160 twice. Okay, so I think that's all our data. Now what we want to do is count toward the middle. So here's our median. So the second is we mark off the outer points until we get to the middle. So you got to do it in pairs. So mark off the outer points in pairs. So 50 and 160, that's one pair. And then 50 and 160, 84 and 25, 91 and 120, 95 and 118, 95 and 105. Now notice we end up with 2 data points now in the middle. And if I mark them off, I marked off all my data points. So this is, if you end up with 2 in the middle, what you want to do is, so if you have 2 data points in the middle, you're going to average those data points. So what we do, now in this one it's pretty easy, but I'm going to do it anyway. We add the 2 data points together and divide by 2. So this is 204 divided by 2. So 102 is the median value. Now if you had an odd number of data points, when you went and knocked these off, there would only be one middle. So if there's one middle, that's your mean. So let's say I had, just for an example, I had 1, 4, 8, 10, and 12. Okay? And so if I went and marked off my endpoints, so 1 and 12, 4 and 10, that would say that 8 is the median. Okay? Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to find our mode. The mode is the data point that occurs most often. So once you've done the median, it's easy to find the mode. You're just looking at data points that occur more than once. And if that value is more than some other value, then it is a mode. So for example, 50 occurs twice, 84 only occurs once, 91 only occurs once, 95 occurs twice, 102 occurs twice, and 160 occurs twice. So this one is multimodal. There are 4 modes because there are 4 numbers that occur more often than the other numbers. So this is multimodal. And the modes are 50, 95, 102, and 160. So you report the numbers, not how many times those numbers occurred. So this is 50, 95, 102, and 160 are our modes. And then the last thing we want to do is mid-range. So mid-range, again, once you've ordered your data, finding the mid-range, you already have the lowest and the highest in order. So you just take the lowest value, 50, plus the highest value, 160, and you divide by 2. So that's what, 210 divided by 2. So the mid-range is 105. So that's all our data. We found the mean, the median, the mode, and the mid-range for this example.